Hey there! In this lesson we are going to add the lighting to our scene so that we can properly see all the materials and set the final look for the scene. In my case, I tried different colors until I was happy with the results. I kept coloring the remaining objects like the bicycle, the stools and the conveyor belt. So I add different materials and colors to each part of them. Now we are going to add a main light, which will be a sun or in this case a physical sky. This will be the base from which we'll be creating the lighting for our scene. For now, go to Options and Shadows. That's it. This will allow us to see where the shadows will be. I would like the shadows to be a bit smaller, so let's rotate the physical sky. That's it. This is fine. Although they don't look very nice in Cinema 4D viewport, we can still see where the shadows will be. Let's turn them off again. Okay. And now we are going to see what lighting options we have for the render. Open the render settings. This window will appear in which we changed some values before. For example, the size, the frame rate, that should be 2997. I usually leave it at 30 when I'm working with animations. Well, now we're going to add a very important effect that is common among the 3D modeling programs. I'm talking about the global illumination. So, go to Effect and choose Global Illumination. Use its default options. This is about the reflections of the light, but for our scene, just adding the global illumination will be more than enough. So let's render these and see the difference between using a global illumination and not using it. First, render the scene without global illumination. For that, use the second button. That's it in this one. And we'll have to wait a little bit until the render is finished. Perfect. Just wait a little bit. And here you can see the progress bar. Perfect. This is a render without global illumination. The shadows are hard and the colors don't look so sharp. Now activate the global illumination. This will affect not only the quality but also the rendering time, so have that in mind. Rendering a scene could take up to 10 minutes, depending on what you want, or even more than that. So, start rendering and wait until it's finished. As you can see, even the rendering process has changed itself. It makes a first pass of the global illumination and then it will render the rest. Anyway, let's wait. Okay. The render didn't take too long because we didn't have any reflections on our materials, and the only thing we did was just to add the global illumination. Alright, let's see the difference between the two renders. On the right side of the window we have the two. One took 15 seconds to finish and the other took 56 seconds. Click on this button with the letter A and then select the other render and click on the button with the letter B. When you do that, a slider will appear, which you can drag to see the difference between the two renders. The difference in the colors, as you can see, is notorious. This one looks darker and the colors are not so light. And there are no actual reflections. I mean, when the light reaches an object, it rebounds and reaches other objects. That makes the scene look better. So that's why the global illumination is very important. You should always use it, because as you can see, it's better. Having this concept in mind and knowing how important the global illumination is in our scene, we are going to try other settings for the render. Apart from this, we'll need to add something called anti-aliasing. Let me open the picture viewer again. Okay. If you notice here, these edges look pixelated. So it's important to activate the anti-aliasing so that we can avoid that undesired effect. Go to the anti-aliasing settings, and for this scene, we need to change it from geometry to best. Let's render again. Okay, so let's render it again. As you can see, in this case, the render has taken a little bit longer, but we don't have those pixelated edges in our scene anymore. That's very important. Now, we are going to improve the lighting a bit so that this part doesn't look so dark. Go to the physical sky and click on the sky tab. Here, we are going to reduce the saturation and the intensity so that the shadows look better. So, change the value of the intensity to 90%. Perfect. And now go to the Sun tab, and under the shadow section, you'll see an option called Density. Reduce its value to 50%. Okay, let's render preview again. Well, before that, let's click on shadows again and rotate a bit the physical sky. That's it. Good. Hide again the shadows and render preview this. Nice! In this case, the render has taken 1 minute, 45 seconds. I think the shadows are better now. Look at the difference between the previous render and this one, whose shadows are lighter. Compare it again with the first version, which had much darker colors. We've been improving it until we got this last render. I think that we've achieved a proper lighting in relation to the scene. We don't need anything else, so let's leave it as it is. Now, to save this image as a reference for the lighting, select the last render and click on Save As. Here you can choose the format. You can choose between JPEG, PNG, TRRGA, or any other. I select PNG and press OK. Now we just have to choose where to save the file. And nothing else. So it's all for this case. Guys, see you in the next lesson.